The Great Depression ended up in one of the great cultural wars of all time, which was the rise of Nazism. Most of the time, economic failure is very difficult to perceive. It's very remote, how your fate is connected with a broader picture. But a financial crisis is obvious to everybody. And what happened was, one, there was a massive financial crisis. There was a panic. The economy tanked. And in order to prevent another Great Depression, and I was involved in these discussions, basically the entire resources of the state, every state, were put behind the financial system. And everybody could see that. There was an explicit commitment that had, in my view, no alternative. We can discuss that. I have plenty of friends who thought we should have the Great Depression again because it would teach them a lesson. I'm not vastly in favor of that sort of approach to economic policy. But anyway, that discredited a huge chunk of the elite. And above all, it discredited traditional Republican views of the market in the state and traditional conservative views. And the consequence of that is populism, right-wing populism seized the right. Because the Reagan, Thatcher sort of optimism about how market economies work was politically exploded. Because that story doesn't work well after a colossal financial crisis. And then there was a second thing that happened, and that will finish it, this argument, which I have a rather lovely chart, I think it's a lovely chart, in my book, 50 charts. This is why it's unbearable for most people. But I like data. So the point is, if you look at just a very simple measure, which is where is GDP per head in the major Western countries relative to where it would have been if the pre-crisis trends had continued. And the results are much more startling, I think. So in the UK, the GDP per head is now more than 25% lower than it would have been if the pre-crisis trend had continued. No wonder we feel poor. And in America, it's better, but it's still close to 20%. In fact, the only major Western country where it's fairly close to the pre-crisis trend is Germany. Now, so this combination of perceived injustice and economic failure was bitter. And then I think all this had profound social consequences that played into what was, in a sense, the only war that could happen from the right's point of view once you lost the economic debate in this way, which is a cultural war. And when I'm feeling really grim and depressed, I point out that